Hello, welcome back. My name's Tolga, also known as the Whisky Snob, and welcome to the Whisky Snob's Week of Whisky. We have started this in conjunction with African and Eastern. They are supporting the Whisky Snob's Week of Whisky. We are having it so it coincides with International Whisky Day, which is March 27th. So this week we've selected a bunch of whiskies, 7 to be in fact, that you can go into selected stores and get a special offer on. What I'll be doing is giving you some brief tasting notes and maybe giving you a little bit of a history or background on some of what we're drinking, and hopefully you go from there. I'm not having Scotch today or whiskey. I'm actually having rye. So Bulleit Rye has been really gaining in popularity over the years. It was started back recently by a kid whose grandfather used to distill bourbon, and he's actually doing a great job of it. It's being used a lot in cocktails, being drank a lot straight. A lot of friends of mine are going through bottles of this stuff. Doesn't mean alcoholics, but just means that they enjoy a drink. This particular rye is 95% rye in the mash bill tun. That's the makeup of what they use, whether they're using cereals or grains and so on. And the other 5% is malted barley, which is what goes into your single malt whiskey. It's actually it's a nice break. If you drink a lot of Scotch or if you drink a lot of whiskey or single malt, it's always nice to take a little break. Not even a little break, but to be able to throw something else in that doesn't really sort of tingles and sort of wakes up your palate and says, hey, what's that? New flavours, new tastes, different levels of flavour as well. On the nose of this rye, straight away, lots of cherry, a bit of tobacco, but it smells a little bit musty as well, almost like a little bit like old leather. A little bit of old leather. Very nice. It's not. Some people sometimes ask what's the difference between bourbon and rye. Bourbon has to be 51% minimum corn, which makes it a lot sweeter. And even on the nose, you get a lot of sweetness, a lot of richness, a lot of honey. With this, you don't have that at all. It's a lot more. There's a lot more sort of fresh, citrusy smells, some grassy smells, some fresh tobacco as well. On the palate, nice sweetness comes through. Actually, you'd be surprised how much sweetness comes through. It's a little bit warm initially, but that warmness sort of dissipates, and you're left with this beautiful sort of array of aromatic spices. A little bit of cinnamon, a lot of nutmeg actually. But then you get some rich fruit, like fruits that you don't usually get in a whiskey. So, like peach. Those cherries come back. That's a that's not an unusual taste to be able to flavour to get in out of a whiskey. But this is a really nice drink. I don't add water to it. I mean, it's only 45%. If I was to add a little bit of water, a drop or two, it really doesn't do much on the nose, except make it maybe a little more rich. Opens up a lot of that richness, gives it some, but that fresh cut grass is more evident once adding a little bit of water. The spice does something a little bit strange with adding water. It sort of moves to the outer part of the tongue, and you're left with some sort of like fresh ginger in the middle of the palate. It's quite nice, quite zesty, quite zingy. Look, go out and get some. I've reviewed this bottle before. You've probably watched the full review. I reviewed it in this very location about a month ago with the whiskey ambassador for Africa and Eastern, Chris Chambers. We love this whiskey. We absolutely adore it, and the price point is fantastic. Have it on your shelf, bring it out, enjoy it on International Whiskey Day. Enjoy it all week through Whisky Snob's World Week of Whiskey. I urge you. On that note, I've got to go. I've still got another 3 or 4 of these to do before I get too drunk. Cheers.